So now that you know what a group calendar can do, how do you overlay this with your personal calendar? If you keep an Outlook calendar or an iCal, or this example will be for a Google Calendar, things that you can have on your computer or your phone, rather than re-entering events, you can just pull in a whole calendar. The nice thing too is when you're linked to a calendar, if that calendar changes, for example, something new gets added, it will automatically show up in your calendar. It's kind of nice for long range planning because, maybe a Christmas concert gets added in and, that's months away and, it's just not on your radar at all. But you kind of look for a trip that you might want to take and you look ahead several months and you say, oh gosh, there's a civic orchestra concert scheduled for that day, so I need to rethink my trip plans. All right, so here's an example of my calendar, my personal calendar, which is kind of ugly. I live and die by it. A lot of things going on. Remember that on your calendar you can change the view. This is the month view. Normally I would switch it over to a week or a day because you can see that there are more things than fit in a little box. But if I were to change this to the day or the week, I would see all that detail. And remember too that each one of these I could click on. Any one of these that is listed, I can click on it and get all the details behind it. For example, my son marches in a parade here, and if I were to click on it, the band will have his call time and what his dress is supposed to be. Where does all this information come from? Because heaven knows I don't want to enter it all. Well, there are two things that you can do. You can personally create a calendar. And for example, I do that here, and sometimes I try to do it with meal planning. So I've got a separate standalone calendar, and I'll figure what night we're having what, and try to organize leftovers. It usually doesn't work, but it's an attempt. The reason why we're talking about this is that you have an option for a group calendar. That is a calendar that somebody else has built that you simply link into. So the examples that I've got here, this is my son's band that he plays in. This is his school calendar. This is another band that I play in. I've got for some reason, I've got the city dates on there, which includes mayor's court and things like that. So these are all calendars that somebody else has created, and all that I've done is said, gosh, I want that to show up on my calendar as well without me having to recopy it. There's one other thing, and we will look at this when the time has come. Notice that you can click these on and off. So if on my computer I were have to touch it right there, I would have that check mark on there, which indicates whether or not, even though I'm subscribed to a particular calendar, I don't want to look at it at that particular time. So if I want to, for example, if I want to not see the city events anymore, I could unclick those and they're still there. It's just not cluttering up my calendar. All right, we'll talk more about that later. If you look at your calendar view, and it doesn't matter if you're looking at a month or a week, I want you to look over here. This is the part that we're going to look at right now, specifically right here where it says to add a friend's calendar. I could put on here in fact I do have my husband's calendar. It's not turned on right now, but if I want to see when he's out of town for a business trip, I can look at that and see how it overlays with my things. But what we're going to look at now is what's happening right here with the friend's calendar. And what you want to do is on the friend's calendar, this is a little bit deceptive, but go ahead and click on this plus button, and that's going to give you some options. So the straightforward way to add a public calendar, so this is, for example, how I added my kids' school calendar. It's how I added my city calendars. I can I'll get this, and I'm going to show you what happens if you pick the from URL. That's the best way to add a public calendar to your own personal calendar. Now, to do that, you have to find the URL from the calendar that you're interested in, and it really depends on how they've set up their websites, how you can pull that down. So I'm not going to talk about that right now. If you were to click on from the URL, the next screen that you would see, well, what is a URL? A URL is a whole long line of gibberish. So you really don't want to copy, you really don't want to type this all in. You're going to want to receive it in an email or cut and paste it from a different public calendar that you're looking at. But a URL is nasty. It's just a nasty, nasty thing. But that's what you need to do this. So in this case, I have the URL for the calendar that I'm interested in, and I can add this to my calendar, and I would do that by clicking to the Add Calendar. And here we go. When I go back to look at my calendar again, there's my rehearsal and the extra event going on tonight. So it is on my calendar. If I were to click on that, I would see the details about, in this case, what's happening. This one happens to have an attachment with it. But everything I need to know about that particular event, I can see when I click on that item. All right? Kind of nice, kind of nice. But you might say, gosh, that is just too much, no thanks, I don't want to do it. There is another option for adding a calendar to your own personal calendar, and that is to ask the calendar owner to send it to you. So if you ask for the calendar to be shared with yourself, you'll get something like this in your email. And when you open up that email, it will tell you that you have access to a calendar. The problem with this is when you ask for it, you're going to get it automatically. So you don't have a choice of whether or not to accept it. But if it is something that you want, just go ahead and ask for it, and it can be sent to you. The last trick that I wanted to show you is when you have all these calendars in front of you, remember that you get to pick what you want to see. So in this case, there is the calendar that I've just subscribed to. If I'm taking some time off and I don't want to see it, all I do is with my mouse, just click on that box so that it becomes an empty box, and then I won't see it on my calendar anymore. It doesn't mean that the information isn't still there, it just doesn't show up on my calendar. When your situation changes and you want to see those dates again, just go back to your calendar, click it, and you'll see those back on your daily schedule every day. If you like this and it works for you, you can put your calendar app on your phone, and you can see a whole lot of things with that as well.